Stuck in a nightmare of my own making. Married for 6 months now because I was partying hard. I tested for HIV. Hello guys, welcome to episode number 6 of the Garden of Truth podcast. Back with Atta again. You've seen him in the last episode. We were talking about a heartbreaking situation between a sick guy and a Muslim girl, and it's just really unfortunate, and I hope the best for them if they are watching this, and I hope your situation has gotten better and you're at peace, at least in life. But today we have another viewer story for you, and this one is a little bit shocking, shall we say, and it's called Secrets, Scars, and the Silent Fight, My Hidden Past.
Okay.
Any observations so far?
It could be a broad spectrum of things. I don't. Let me not let my imagination run wild.
Okay, that's fine. All right, we're gonna get into it. Before we do, make sure you guys like and subscribe if you guys are watching the podcast, enjoying it. Any improvements, anything, let us know in the comments. Just keep engaged, all right? And
We'd appreciate your feedback.
Yes, we really do appreciate the feedback. Thank you, guys. And keep sending in your stories if you want to be featured on the podcast as well. So you guys, salam, bro. I've been a big fan of yours for podcast for a while, and I'm finally getting ready to share my story, but it's heavy, like really heavy, and I need advice. I'm stuck in a nightmare of my own making. So here's the deal. I'm a Muslim guy, happily married for 6 months now. She's amazing, kind, beautiful, and the kind of person that you pray for. But before I met her, my life was wild. Capital W, by the way. Very wild. He said, back in university in my early 20s, I was partying hard, chasing whatever came my way. I wasn't proud, but I was reckless. Multiple partners, and I had no real care for the consequences. One day I got tested and it came back positive for HIV. Yeah. He said I was shattered, but I kept it a secret. I started treatment immediately, took control of my health. I cleaned up my life and found faith. When I met my wife, I wanted to become a new man, someone honest and responsible. But here's the twist. I've never told her. Not a word. She thinks I'm healthy and pure. I'm terrified to tell her because I fear losing her. And more than that, I'm scared that she'll reject me and the shame will destroy my family and the community. Every day I live with this secret and it's tearing me apart. I want to tell her, but how do you drop a truth bomb like that without shattering everything? What if she leaves? What if she tells others? Last week she told me she's thinking about starting a family soon. That was the hardest moment yet, because how can I bring a child into life like this? Should I tell her before it's too late? I'm scared, bro. I don't know. I don't want to live a lie anymore, but I'm terrified of the fallout. What should I do? How do I face this?
Okay.
Another heavy one.
Yeah, that's a very heavy one.
That is a moral dilemma.
I mean, again, disclaimer, this is my personal opinion. I'm no medic. I'm not clinically trained to give this advice. So my take on it is that, number one, he's become, it sounds, responsible. He was very irresponsible before. Don't know if he used protection or not, because it sounds like he probably
Clearly
didn't.
he didn't, yeah.
Not good.
Yeah.
Terrible, and he's obviously seen the consequence of it now. Things like this should be disclosed. It's unfair on on your partner.
I mean, you don't know what kind of health complications that she could get from if she caught it. You know.
So the thing with HIV, from what I understand, is that I take it he's on. I think it's antivirals. Or there's a medication that you can take for HIV to the point where it takes you to be untraceable and undetectable.
Yeah.
Very small amount, and you can live a perfectly normal, healthy life with HIV. Again, undetectable, untraceable, and I don't think you can transmit it either. So I think from that point of view, medically, if he's been checked out, if he's had that conversation with his healthcare provider, whether it's the GP or specialist, they would inform him of that, and there's lots of information online.
Yeah.
In terms of telling, I think this does need to be disclosed. This is really unfair on his partner.
Yeah.
God forbid if it ever was passed on, if he didn't take his medication properly or something.
It might
and
affect
something
your
passed,
kids.
and you know, something's passed on to the children because
Yeah.
I think, please don't quote me, but I think there is a chance if you're not on the medication that you
That
can
you
pass
can
it over
pass
to
it
the
on,
kids.
yeah.
Yeah. So things can go wrong, but if you're following the correct medical advice and you're on your medication and all, I think it shouldn't be that much of a problem. So I know it's one of those things, but honesty is always the best policy.
Absolutely.
You just don't want to go too far down the line and have a child.
Absolutely.
And then you tell
That's
after,
a whole
and
other
if it
issue,
comes
yeah.
to the surface, then
Yeah.
it'll be like World War Five.
I mean, you are Muslim, and Allah is known as the most merciful. Part of Islam is a part of life, and in life, nobody's perfect. If we were all perfect, the world would not exist. You need mistakes. You need things
to learn and grow.
Yeah, because otherwise, then there's nothing. There's nothing in this world that's going on.
No,
If everything was
everyone goes
perfect-
through their tests and trial.
Yeah.
I'm glad that he's recognized
At
that
least,
and he's
yeah,
become
he's-
more responsible. Yes, he has made big errors and big mistakes, but I think he needs to come clean to
Yeah.
those who it's most relevant to at this point.
Yeah.
Disclose it. I mean, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
People hear HIV and they think, oh my God, it's this and it's that. But it's
Yeah.
actually,
It's very treatable.
personally, what I think is worse is probably diabetes. Because when you look at diabetes, you have to be, again, even with that, you're medicated for the rest of your life. But even despite taking medication, you can still have a range of issues. You have issues with your nerves. You can end up with high blood pressure. And then there's all the other things that, you can have. A lot of people have like I don't know if you've heard of their toes or feet necrotizing, like they can get a wound.
Oh,
and they cannot know because their nerves have been damaged.
Wow.
And then that wound can become like infected, or it can have a sore that becomes infected, and that then becomes necrotized, which is like when the skin
Yikes.
dies off, it becomes
Yeah,
black.
yeah.
And they then need to amputate that, whether it's a toe, a foot, a leg, depending on how far it's spread. Then you get things like with your eyes, you get what's that thing called, the granulomas in your eyes, cataracts and stuff like that.
Wow.
Apart from that, there's so many things that can go wrong, and that's just diabetes alone.
Yeah.
But again, like a lot of people have diabetes compared to like HIV, but
Yeah.
I think because it's something sexual, people just frown upon it straight
Yeah,
away.
it's
Like,
a little
oh
bit
my God,
taboo, isn't
HIV,
it? Yeah,
like,
it's a little
stay
bit
away from me.
taboo, yeah.
Whereas I'm more like, oh, diabetes, oh, you stay away from me. Because again, you can live a perfectly normal, healthy life as long as you're medicated.
Yeah.
Again, just like diabetes or many other conditions.
Yeah, it
diseases out
seems
there.
like he's not too worried about like the physical repercussions of it. It's more like telling his
the
wife,
emotional stuff
yeah, the
and-
emotional
and- yeah,
side,
yeah.
which is part of being a human is you have to make tough decisions, and if if you let it go longer, it's just gonna be worse. Because if you tell her after 6 months, okay, it sucks that you didn't tell her 6 months ago.
If you tell 6
but
years later,
6 years later,
it's even bigger.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
the more you hold it down.
Yeah.
And before having a child, I would say before having a child, please tell your
her,
wife,
because
please,
her
you owe her
healthcare
this,
provider needs to know as well.
You owe her this. You
Yeah.
really owe her this.
Absolutely.
And especially with the way things are going nowadays, you've got a lot of lying and cheating going on, and this is already a big scare for both men and women, that they're scared their partners are hiding something. So come clean. You cannot have a relationship based on lies.
Absolutely.
It will come to the surface. There's a saying, everything done in the dark comes to light. It will come to light. It's a matter of time. Especially for the fact that, God forbid, if something ever happens to you, you get involved in an accident, or you're admitted to the hospital and you can't speak for yourself.
Yeah, they don't know that you have HIV.
Yeah, and it needs to be disclosed at that point, because
because if they transfer blood or they do something, then
it depends. It's to do with like the management of how they are in hospital, the healthcare staff.
Yeah.
Are you having an op? They need to take
I think
special
part of it
precautions.
goes to the fact that maybe he is Muslim and Pakistani, like so much taboo in our community about talking about these things, even though it's very common. Like, I don't think I know a Pakistani guy that hasn't done this type. Like, every one of us here would know somebody who does this type of thing, and it's better for it to be out in the open, and that you fix the situation as opposed to lying about it.
I wouldn't even say out in the open to the world.
Yeah, just
to your partner, who
just
it's
your
relevant
partner.
to, as I said earlier. Just who it's relevant to, just so that if you aren't able to speak on your behalf, she can speak, but again,
I didn't even think of that side. Like,
you owe her the truth.
Yeah, like
you can't lie about something.
I can't imagine.
This
Like,
big.
imagine you're in an accident.
It's not like I nicked a pen when I was in school. No, you're carrying a lifelong condition with you, which hopefully with modern medicine,
which could potentially be passed on to your kids as well.
And
so,
modern medicine has gone so far. You never know; they might even have a vaccine in the future.
Yeah, you never know.
They've got one for HPV, for
I'm pretty
this,
sure
for
it's
that.
quite close to fully curable.
Polio, this, everything, MMR. They've got vaccinations for everything. They've got medication for everything. Science is improving really quick. But to circle back to the topic of honesty, you really owe it to her.
Yeah,
you really do,
because she's already trusted you so far, and then when she finds out, she's gonna find out.
The guilt. Well, I think the guilt that he will carry for the rest of his life that he doesn't tell is that number one, he will stress over it. He will always be looking over his shoulder.
It might affect the relationship between them too.
And stress alone, like lies and like stress has its own symptoms and the things that it carries. Like, if you're stressing for the rest of your life, do you want to start losing your hair? Do you want to start having clinical symptoms? Do you want to get a Cushing syndrome? Again, for people who don't know what that is, if you want to Google, you can Google. Do you want to end up with high blood pressure? Do you want to end up with irritable bowel syndrome? Again, I'm not a medic, but there are so many clinical symptoms that you can, so many things that you can bring upon yourself just by stressing, and you're stressing because you haven't told a lie, the truth. Sorry. So, do you really want to do that? And then, do you want to be living with your spouse, with them? Like, imagine your spouse looking at you like, "Oh, look at this person. Like, my husband's just getting ill by the day."
Yeah.
Not knowing what he's stressing over.
Yeah, what he's stressing over.
So you're just destroying yourself from outside and inside. I just think.
I think the easiest and best decision is to tell her straight away. It's gonna suck. I'm not gonna lie to you. It is going to suck. Like, you're probably gonna argue. She's gonna be pissed that you didn't tell her 6 months ago.
He needs the closure.
But you do need to tell her. And it's not up to you, because you already decided to take her decision away from her by not telling her.
Yeah.
So now you don't get to choose what decisions that she makes.
That's half your deen.
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
half your religion. And again, in Islam, you can't, obviously carry a lie like this.
Yeah.
But,
and you should respect her enough to know that the decision that she'll make it's her right, because you did lie to her.
And you never know, she might even respect you and appreciate you more for telling you the truth.
Know. Yeah.
Maybe she won't be like, "Oh, I'm going to leave him." Don't assume the worst. Just
me personally in my life, I've had like the things I've been most nervous to talk about. When I talk about them, I get like a way better resolution than not talking about them, even though it does suck, in the meantime. So good advice.
I guess bottom line, come clean.
Yes, absolutely, come clean with anything you do in life, whatever you're up to, even if you're not this guy who has HIV, whatever you're going through, it's best to be honest about it, and just live your life stress-free, because you don't want to be looking over your shoulder. That's the worst thing.
Indeed.
Yeah, well, bit of a shorter episode today, but thank you again, Ataf, for coming and
thank you for
talking to us about this guy. I hope the best for you, listener, and please send us more of your stories on here. We would love to discuss them and talk about them. They're very interesting. So, and make sure to subscribe to the channel and follow us on TikTok and Instagram and whatnot. Peace out.
Peace out.